Good evening and welcome. I'm going to call to order the Burnsville Planning Commission for Monday, January 28th. Our first item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Are there any additions from staff?
No changes from staff.
Any changes from commissioners? Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Second is approval of the minutes of the January 14th Planning Commission meeting. Any changes from staff or commissioners?
No changes from staff.
None from commissioners either? All right, I would entertain a motion.
I move. Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Our next item is an economic development strategic plan presentation from the venerable Skip Niehaus. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was commenting to the planners this afternoon that it's been a long time since I have had the opportunity to address the Planning Commission. So I thank you for
You're
giving me.
former chair, correct?
I was a former
Chair
chair.
emeritus. So we need to call you chair emeritus.
I know exactly how it works. I also did share with the planners that I was not one of their most beloved Planning Commission members when I was on the Planning Commission.
Steve knows how that goes.
What we'd like to do tonight, Commissioners, is just briefly share with you the new Economic Development Strategic Plan that the city has adopted. Little background, little history. We started working on this plan in June of last year. We had ULI, the Urban Land Institute, come in and host a meeting. They have meetings where they go to cities. They provide the cities with the demographics of the city. They provide cities with, here's some things that are going on around in the region from a development standpoint. And then they also bring in a couple of experts from different areas of development to give their opinions of Burnsville and also answer any questions that we have. That meeting kind of set the stage for what we were going to do over the next 6 months. Our consulting firm, Ehlers and Associates, also held phone interviews with members of the EDC and the EDA, asked them a number of questions about what they liked, didn't like, what they wanted to see change, all those kinds of things. We then, engaged in 2 work sessions in which our consultant presented possible goals and strategies. We discussed those goals and strategies, narrowed them down, refined them, and began to draft a plan. As our consulting firm began to draft the plan, they also came back a couple of times and kind of did some check-ins with the EDC and the EDA just to make sure we were on the right path. And then in November of last year, we adopted the new strategic plan. We basically have 5 goals in the plan. We actually started out with 11 goals at the first work session. We quickly determined that the bottom 2 goals really were already incorporated in other goals, so those were eliminated. And then we engaged in a exercise in which each of the commissioners and the EDA folks had 3 dots, and they were to go and put the dots on the goals that were most important to them. At the conclusion of that, we had 5 goals that pretty much got the multitude of the dots, and the dots, or the number of dots are the numbers on the left-hand side of this slide. Those 5 have become the goals of our plan. We're not forgetting the bottom 4, and we did provide you with the plan as part of your background, and you'll probably, when you look at some of those bottom 4, you'll realize that they have been incorporated into some of our strategies and actions. So the 5 goals that the city is going to concentrate on as we move out this plan over the next couple of years is to ensure the sustainability of the Burnsville Shopping Center and County Road 42. You also probably realize we have a separate redevelopment plan for the Burnsville Center and County Road 42. We are going to work on improving the image of the school district and the city, continue the development of Heart of the City, enhance and build awareness around the city's existing housing and commercial programs, and develop new programs as needed, and then continue the city's position as a regional destination. Each one of these goals has performance metrics that we will measure our progress against, and each one of these goals has a number of strategies, and each strategy has a number of actions and tactics that we will utilize. All of those were provided for you in your background material. First thing that we've done is council did agree to give us some additional resources. And on the staff side, we've made a couple of changes. Regina Dean, who you all know as a planner, effective the beginning of the year, Regina is our new redevelopment coordinator. And Regina's prime focus will be the continuation of the Heart of the City build-out and the Burnsville Center County Road 42 redevelopment plan. She will actually act as a concierge and will be able to take a developer from the day they walk in City Hall through all the sketch plans, through all the planning activities, through the Planning Commission, through City Council, and to approval. So she becomes kind of a one-stop shop for those two major focus areas. Sarah Arnold, who has been our planning assistant for the last year and a half, was promoted in January to planner. And I believe this is Sarah's first meeting. Sarah will do typical planning duties. She is also going to assist our community development director, Jenny Faulkner, on working on some housing initiatives. So you will be seeing Sarah quite a bit over the next few years. I am staying in my role as economic development coordinator, and I will work on the city and school district image. I will work on the commercial initiatives that we have and look at any ones we should have. And I will work on continuing Burnsville as a regional destination. I also will continue to be the liaison to the Economic Development Authority and the liaison to the Economic Development Commission. I'm also the person who sells city property and buys land for the city, and I will continue to do that. As we go into the first quarter, we put in place some implementation steps that we want to take. First off, we are going to be issuing, actually within the next day or two, an RFQ for a marketing consultant. Besides the staff changes, one of the other resources that council gave us to implement this plan is funds to hire a marketing consultant. We're hoping the marketing consultant will help us on some branding activities, and then on an ongoing basis, work with us on marketing activities, social media, our website, help us with the marketing activities we're going to hopefully do on behalf of the school district. We also are in the process of seeking special TIF legislation for the Burnsville Center area. The Burnsville Center area actually is not blighted enough to qualify for either a redevelopment district or a renewal district, which are two major TIF districts. Also, because the Burnsville Center is obviously a retail destination, it does not qualify for an economic development TIF district. So since it doesn't qualify for any of those districts, that's why we're seeking special legislation. The bill has been drafted, and we do have authors that will carry the bill for us, and Regina Dean is finishing up right now, she was finishing up today, kind of a little cell brochure that we will take and give to the various legislature and kind of go after this legislation. We are also seeking what's known as a host community grant. This is a state grant from DEED to do a County Road 42 traffic study. We submitted that application a couple of weeks ago. Probably we'll hear within the next month. What we want to do is take a look at that Burnsville Center County Road 42 redevelopment plan and look at the different traffic impacts and see what do we have to do traffic-wise to stay on top of that. Ms. Dean secured a Met Council grant to do a TOD ordinance, and we will be working on that. As you all know, we have two TOD stops in the, two orange line stops in the heart of the city, and we should have an orange line stop somewhere in the Burnsville Center area. So we need to work on that ordinance. And then lastly, we are at the end of February going to get the city, the chamber, the school district, and the CVB together kind of for a meeting to take a look at this plan and see who can help partner with the city on different aspects of the plan. And we're hoping basically that these are the main partners that we partner with on things. We need to get them all together and see who can do what and how we can move forward with this plan. There are some tasks that the Planning Commission will work on as it relates to the ED strategic plan. You obviously will be involved in the creation of the TOD ordinance. You will be involved in looking at the marketing of our existing housing programs. We will also bring to you any new housing initiatives we think that need to be created for your input and guidance. And then there will be some zoning and land use changes relative to the Burnsville Center County Road 42 redevelopment plan. We will engage the Planning Commission on those zoning and land changes. So you have a piece of this plan that we will hope to have you work on this year and probably into next year also. Lastly, This is a very important plan for the city, and this plan is getting a lot of emphasis. It is our intention on a monthly basis to update via the monitoring report what is going on relative to this plan. So when you get your monthly monitoring report, from now on, you'll see something about the Economic Development Strategic Plan. If you are not getting the monthly monitoring report, there is the, going to the city website, there's the link, and sign up for it, and it will come out to you on a monthly basis. If you need help, either one of our planners can obviously help you get involved in that. I would strongly suggest, it'll be worth the read, it'll be short, it'll be bullet points, but it'll at least keep you up to date on what's being done for this plan. And with that, Mr. Chair, I would certainly stand if the commission had any questions.
Thank you. This was very, very helpful, and I looked through the plan that you provided the link for too, and I particularly the School District 191 issues there. I think it's really good that the Economic Development Commission is dealing with those head on, because I think that's an important part for the community. But commissioners, questions for Mr. Niehaus?
Not questions so much, it's just really wanted to say thank you, Skip, for the work you're putting in on this. I think it really is a need that we have, and I think that we really are addressing it head on. And I think that's really a good place for the Burnsville to be.
Thank you, Commissioner. I should point out that this is not mine. This is a team of staff and EDC and EDA.
You're the point person right here. Pass it along, please.
Additional questions or comments? All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Have a good evening. All right, item 4, discussion on the Planning Commission 2019 work plan and City Council ends and outcomes. Ms. Arnold, welcome. We are kind of a tough crowd, so let me warn you.
Thank you. Just 1 moment.
Lots of folders.
All right, good evening, Planning Commissioners. In your packet, you have a copy of the 2018 ends and outcomes. So these statements are reviewed each year annually at the City Council's all-day work session, which usually occurs at the beginning of the calendar year. It's actually this Friday, February 1st. So tonight we're asking the Planning Commission to, 1, take a look at the ends and outcome statements, particularly those related to the development section, as most of the items that may come before you over the next year would relate back to or correlate with these policies and statements provided. And to discuss the draft work plan that we have prepared for you and your consideration for comments, suggested changes, or considerations that we can document to move forward to the City Council as they discuss these work plans at their all-day work session this Friday. So also included in your packet was the planning selection of the annual monitoring report. So this gives a very concise but detailed overview of the accomplishments of the Planning Department and the Planning Commission over the last year. Within that, you can see items that were included in your 2018 work plan. So the 2018 Planning Commission work plan is also included in your packet. In your background, you'll find the progress that staff and the commission made on accomplishing the goals within this plan, and you'll see that some items are still ongoing in their study, and they've been brought forward to the commission and other groups within the city for discussion over the last several months. For example, the study on temporary signs and banners as an amendment to our sign ordinance is ongoing, and the implementation of the comprehensive plan is going to continue into 2019 as we make zoning changes to match up with the comprehensive land use guide plan in the 2040 plan. So for you, your draft 2019 work plan are some items that we've heard expressed from commission members, city council, and a few that were added in by staff as items that we need to study further. So do keep in mind that in addition to the items you see listed here within this draft work plan, there are a number of planning-related items that are going to be discussed at the all-day work session that may be added to the work plan or that you may see come before you as large-scale studies over the next year. Not to mention the regular stream of development applications that we have in the pipeline for this next few months. So I would invite you now to take a look at this list. If you have any recommendations, whether it's shifting an item in its priority, whether it's moving it to the beginning or the end of the year, or adding any new discussion items to the list based on something you may have seen come up in discussion a lot as you've reviewed applications over the last year. That's where a lot of these items have come from, as well as just overall city goals and studies. So any comments, considerations to be included?
Commissioners, any questions or comments? Can you, Commissioner Benke?
No, go ahead, I really don't see.
I was gonna ask about the parking ordinance update. A little more information on that.
I can address that. That is some discussion that came out of an application that we had last year, and City Council wanted to discuss further. We had an application, I wish I could remember which one it was, but we had recommended some parking improvements or parking changes, and they thought that it was time for us to take a look at our parking schedule in the ordinance, if you will, and that there may be a need for changes to that. So overall parking, just to determine, do we require too much parking per our ordinance? You know, just what can we be looking for? We know that things are changing rapidly with transportation as always. And the last time we took a comprehensive look at this was, I believe, like 2006 or 2007. So it's been a
time.
while.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So that's primarily it. I think one of the things that staff is going to also suggest be included in that is, we just saw an application last time for Daryu Salam, which had requested leased parking, which is not part of the ordinance, not a, the city council did approve that CUP based on the recommendations of the planning commission, but that would be something to take a look at, just what options and alternatives are out there, how can we, you know, make our ordinance address kind of the current market conditions and what we anticipate in the future.
And then I have one question on the, Mr. Niehaus had mentioned the transit-oriented development ordinance, and there was a Met Council grant. Is that something that would be driven, is it a staff-driven process, and then we're kind of brought in as?
No.
How does that, with the grant, I'm
Certainly.
unfamiliar with that.
We, as part of the comprehensive plan, in the land use plan, we talked about transit-oriented development. And so for the implementation of the comprehensive plan, we have a number of things that we need to do. But actually coming up with a transit-oriented development ordinance to deal with that is part of it. So really, what that will be, we have a grant from Metropolitan Council to help us, because a lot of cities are doing the same
Right,
thing.
right.
But it's really a matter of taking what we've done with the comprehensive plan and then vetting out things with the planning commission and putting together an ordinance to accomplish the objectives and the housing densities and the work related items that we want to happen in those transit-oriented districts.
Okay. Commissioners, additional questions or comments? I think this looks good. Looks like an aggressive year.
Another aggressive year, yes.
Well, I guess, I do think that it again, it feeds into the needs very well. You know, I think that's, from that standpoint, I think that we've really got a great direction to follow here, so.
All right,
And on this, we don't actually need a motion, right?
correct.
You want our general feedback. Okay.
And we expect there will be additions
Yeah.
coming back.
There usually
And
is.
we'll report those back to you, and then you can take a look at adopting. what
We
you'd like
note
for
the
your final
draft
plan.
across the document.
Yes, it is draft.
And this is going to city council for their,
All day,
All day.
yep, all day work session.
And then it will come back to you at the next planning commission meeting.
And then we do approve it, right? Or we have to take action on it?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, yep. Good, I'm remembering this. Okay, well, I think that concludes that item then. unless there's anything else. All right, we are on to item 5, updates.
Just a couple of quick things for the commissioners. At the council meeting, as I indicated, the council did approve the Dar es Salaam project with the conditions recommended by Planning Commission. They also approved the Burnsville Center County Road 42 plan. Regina had brought that up and discussed that or provided a presentation last time, so we're in the moving stage of implementing that. For the Almere Poots project, that was continued. We had only 4 council members. The mayor was not at the meeting. And what they had discussed, the applicant had an attorney that came in representing them. And they had requested the park dedication fee be waived. And that's something that needs further input by the city attorney and their attorney, so they'll be looking at that. They also considered the variances being requested. And I don't believe that there was support for the slopes in the storm pond. I don't believe there was support for that. There may be support for some signage variances, but we did have, Councilmember Keeley had driven out there and indicated, even if you have a tall sign, is somebody going to be able to see it from 13 and these other directions? So we've asked the applicant to provide some perspectives and what they're looking at. I think their guidance from the city council is to not put tall signage on the south side or the side that faces the residential homes. There may be an opportunity to do something on the back side that's visible from Highway 13, but they did give some direction to that. So primarily they'll be looking at, this will come back at the second council meeting in February, and they'll be looking at primarily the issue of the park dedication, but then also the consideration for the variances for the signs. And I think that's it, other than we have the draft agenda for your next meeting. Thanks, Sarah.
It's looking like a long one. I can see it coming.
Yes, it's, yeah, tonight was kind of got by without a lot, but, yeah, we have several applications. Not sure if all of them will stay on that agenda, but at this point, it looks pretty good that we'll be having at least 2 out of the 3 public hearings.
Sounds good. Any updates from commissioners? All right, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I would offer that motion.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.
6:52.
Thank you.